The most important tools for note entry are the Insert Image tool, which is located in the Tools toolbar above, and the cursor. You will move the cursor to the designated location on the score, and then click in that location using the Insert Image tool after you have selected a note duration of your choice. As you can see, every time you click a note duration in the toolbar, in the box on the far left-hand side, you can see that the text changes. And this is reflecting the actual value of the note that you are going to enter. So you can actually bypass this long-form version of entering notes and simply use the command box to enter whatever note value you would like. So you can simply type a W and a whole note will appear, or type an H and a half note will appear, etc. So now we need to enter this G sharp that lasts for 6 measures. To tie notes together, chain the duration values of the notes that you would like to appear in the score. So in this case, I will type 6 W's in the command box and then click in bar 1, beat 1 of the pedal to create my G. But now I need to turn this G into a G sharp. In order to change the accidental of a note, you can press Command 3 to create a sharp, Command 5 to create a flat, and Command 4 to turn the note back to natural. So I'll press Command 3 to turn this note into a sharp. Now notice that my 6 whole notes have actually spilled onto page 2, and I would actually like all of these to be on page 1, and so I will adjust the number of measures on the page. There are 2 ways to do this. The first is that I can go to the right side of the system and press the plus button to increase the number of measures on the page, and I will press that twice. But another way that you can do this is to go into the Score Structure panel and find the Measures and System tab and change this manually. And with this, you can actually change more than one system. So if I wanted to change all of the systems to, for example, 8 measures, I could simply select all subsequent systems and change the measures and system. And you will see that not only on the first page do I have 8 measures, but on the second page as well. But I actually know in advance that I need 7 measures on page 1 and 4 on page 2. So I will go ahead and change those back. Now that I have my whole note entered, I need to begin to enter the chords that appear in Manual 1 on the first organ. Now to create chords, begin by entering the notes as you would normally. So I'll enter this G at the bottom, which is a whole note tied to a half note. And then I will actually place my cursor back at beat 1 of measure 1 and type the other whole notes tied to half notes on C and E to create my chord. So now I'm going to go ahead and enter the second chord, which is a half note tied to a whole note tied to a dotted half note. And to add a dot, simply add a period at the end of the note that you would like to add a dot to. So in this case, H dot. And now simply add the C, and then the E above it, and then the G above that. Now I would like to tie the common notes between the 2 chords. So I'll first find my selection tool, and then I will select both chords. And then in the upper right-hand corner of the toolbar, you can see that there is an option to tie notes together. And I will click that button, and you can see that the C and E become tied together. Now I will finish entering all the chords and bass pedal pitches into the first organ. The bass and chordal structure in organ 1 is identical to that in organ 2 in the first 2 pages. So therefore, I would like to copy everything I've just entered from organ 1 and paste it into organ 2. NoteAbility has a useful tool in which you can select multiple measures and staves in a score. To locate this tool, simply go back into your Tools toolbar and find these two green bookend arrow brackets next to the selection tool. Once that is highlighted, click at the very beginning of Manual 1 to open the selection bracket, and then proceed to the very end of the pedal to close the selection bracket. And now if you scroll through the score, you can see that everything in both staves has been selected. And now you can simply copy this and then place your cursor into the exact position in Manual 1. And now you can paste this information in. Now you can see that when I simply pasted the information in, it has made some adjustments to my notes and ties and structure that I really do not want. And so I will actually undo this and go manually into the Edit menu and select Paste Exact. And now you can see that it pastes exactly the way that I have entered it into the first organ. Now we have all of the pedal and choral structure information for both organs entered into the score, and we can begin to add the patterns and the text. First, I will enter the 16th note patterns into Manual 2 of Organ 2. Now all of the patterns in Manual 2 of the second organ are entered into the first page. But I would like to make some adjustments here. The first of which is the beaming structure of the pattern at the beginning of Manual 2, which must repeat through the first 5 measures. NoteAbility manually beams together note patterns based on the beat structure of each measure. So for example here, 4 16th notes are beamed together into one pattern. I would like to actually have all 6 notes at the very beginning beamed together. So I will select all 6 of those notes and press Command B to beam the structure together. Now that I've beamed all of these notes together and I have my pattern, I would like to create a line that indicates to repeat them in the score, because I actually don't want to simply copy and paste this pattern multiple times, taking up score space that isn't needed. So in order to create a line, select the Line tool, which is in the Tools toolbar. And now you can see if you click anywhere on the score and drag and then release, it will create a line. But now we need a very specific line. We need this squiggly arrow line. And so go into the Music Images panel and the Lines tab, and you can see many options for changing multiple parameters of a line. So for example, you can change the line width. Now I know I want my line to not be quite so thick, so I'll actually change that to 1. And then to find the line type that I'm looking for, I will use the arrow to kind of slide over until I find the one that I would like. And I would like this arrow squiggly line. So once I find this, I will select it, and then I can add this squiggly line into the score, and I have my repetition. Now we need to add the 16th note pattern in Manual 2 of Organ 1. So to do this, proceed to the second page and find the 4th beat in measure 10. And now we need to actually enter a quintuplet. So to do this, we need to access the Tuplet menu in NoteAbility. So first, you need to select the Insert Image tool. And then you can see that right next to all of the note durations and the accidentals, there's an option to select Tuplet entry. And so for example, you can enter triplets, quintuplets, or you can set the tuplet to any ratio that you wish. But for now, we're simply going to select quintuplet. And now we have our quintuplet selected. You can see that there's a large 5 that appears inside of the cursor so that you know that you're entering quintuplet. And so now you can enter these 5 16th notes. And NoteAbility will automatically create this quintuplet. Now, if you want to be more specific with your quintuplet, like add a bracket or something, for example, you can simply go back to the Selection tool, select the notes, and find the Tuplet drop-down menu, and for example, Show Hide Bracket. But for now, I'm going to remove this bracket. And now once more, I actually do need to add an extension line to the end of this to indicate that it is a repeating pattern. Now, one thing to know when you're entering lines is that it is possible, for example, to enter lines on a diagonal. And if you are clicking and moving your mouse in any direction, a line could become a little bit crooked. But if you really want to make sure that you have a straight line, simply press the Shift key and hold it down. You can lock this on the horizontal, on the vertical, or on the diagonal axis. We need to add some rests into the manual 2 part on the first organ. So adding rests is very similar to adding notes. Type the value that you would like into the command box. Use the Insert Image tool and the cursor to click and add a rest. However, in order to create a rest rather than a note, type R before the value. So if you type RW, it will create a whole rest. So now I will create whole rests in the first 7 measures. And then I will add 2 whole rests and a half and a quarter rest into the next 3 measures. And you can see, just like with notes, you can add multiple values into the command box and it will simply add all of the values at once. As long as it's preceded with an R, they will all be rests. Before we proceed, I would like to show you one more way that you can add rests. And this is to use the selection tool, once again, to select any indicated region in the score. And you can find the rest menu and simply select Insert Rests in Selection. And you can see that it automatically inserts all the rests where there isn't a note. Now we have all of our notes entered in our score, and we can begin to add text and other elements.